Good afternoon. A moment until we get started. We'll give some people a chance to get on. Good afternoon and welcome to Lunch Break with the Rabbi. Today is Thursday, February 11th, 2021. It is the 29th day of the month of Shavat. We are now about to enter into the most joyous month in the Jewish calendar, the month of Adar. Our sages tell us that when the month of Adar comes, one must increase in joy. That means you need to be joyful all the time. But when the month of Adar comes, you need to increase the joy. You got to pump up the music, give it more oomph, give it more joy, give it more excitement. Joy is something unique and special. It breaks through any type of barrier. And therefore, in this month, our sages tell us if somebody has a judgment against him or against another non-Jew, what he should do is have it in the month of Adar because our luck is extra special. It is the month that we celebrate Purim, and from Purim we go straight to the holiday of Passover. So as we enter this month, tonight being the 30th of Shvat, or first day of Rosh Chodesh Adar, it is a time where we pep ourselves up, get excited, pump up the music, and bring that joy into your life. Let it be an internal joy, a true joy that actually permeates your very being and transforms the way you think, act, and do things. Which brings us to this week's Torah reading. You know, this week in the synagogue, we'll actually be reading from three different Torahs. Three Torahs. In the first Torah, we'll be reading the Torah reading of the week, which discusses the different laws and details of financial litigation, fiduciary responsibilities that one may have towards another. We then have a second Torah, which we'll be reading for Rosh Chodesh, because it's going to be the second day of Rosh Chodesh Adar, the first of the month, and we read about the sacrifices that were brought in the Holy Temple on the day of Rosh Chodesh. We then will be taking a third Torah, and we'll be reading from the Torah reading in the book of Exodus, which discusses the half a coin that every single Jew would donate on the first of Adar, which those contributions went towards the sacrifices that were brought in the Holy Temple, communal sacrifices. Now the question is asked, if you were to walk into a synagogue and you get an aliyah or you put in a bid for a donation and you give $50, what do you think everybody would look at you like? Only $50? You can't give $1. Since when only a half? God tells the Jewish people that every single one of them should give $50 in contribution towards the tabernacle to be able to purchase the communal sacrifices. We know everything in Judaism, one that gives should give generously. So why only a half? Why not give more? Why is Judaism telling us here only give a half? And this was the donation that was demanded of every single Jew. They could have gave $1 for that matter. Why $50? And to commemorate this type of custom, we have that before Purim, we take $3 and we lift it up and we purchase it and we give it to charity, $3 to commemorate the 3 times that the nation is mentioned in the Torah, and the $50 that the Jewish people, the half a shekel that the people gave during the temple times in contribution towards the communal sacrifices. But the question is still, why a half? Why only a half a mitzvah? Why not give everything? And the Talmud goes a step further and says, why do we give the half a shekel before Purim? Why not any other time of the year? And the Talmud explains and says that the reason why we do it before Purim is because in the Megillah we find a story where Haman approaches Achashverosh, the king of Persia at the time, and says, there's a nation who is independent, doesn't keep the laws like everybody else, is segregated from the community, and I have a plan to get rid of them. You may ask, but they pay taxes. So you know what? I got an idea for you. I will give you 10,000 shekel, 10,000 kikar kesef, he calls it, 10,000 silver kikar, to compensate for their taxes for those people. Now, what was his calculation? And the Talmud explains that his calculation was a half a shekel per Jew. And that was his calculation. Comes out 600,000 Jews left Egypt. 600,000 times 2 half a shekel, I'm sorry, half a shekel was each one, so therefore it came to the calculation of 10,000 kikar. With that, Almighty God from heaven says, guess what, Haman? You're trying to destroy the Jews with 10,000 kikar kesef by a half a shekel? The Jews already preempted that. And they donate every single year a half a shekel towards the Holy Temple. And that half a shekel will save them from your terrible plot. Ever since then, it's been the custom that Jewish people on the eve of Purim give a $50 to charity for every member of their family. But why the half a shekel? Where does Haman come up with this number of a half a shekel? Was he just taking the number from the Torah? How did he get this idea to give a half a shekel, which that should be resemblance, and that should be enough to destroy the Jewish people? An interesting story, a fascinating story, about Tsar Nikolai at one point decided that he made a decree that he wanted to get rid of the Jewish people from a certain area in Russia. At the time, Mr. Moses Montefiore is a very well-known philanthropist, stepped up to the plate and called a meeting with the Tsar. And he said, listen here, Tsar, I will give a large sum of money to the coffers of the Tsar if he leaves the Jews alone and does not exile them. Well, the Tsar and Mr. Moses Montefiore said, okay, let's negotiate. Let's negotiate per head. To which Moses Montefiore tells him an unbelievable answer. And he tells him as follows. You want to put a value? Well, to what you value the Jewish people, it's nothing. It's a few kopecks. Because you want to get rid of them, that means you don't value them as much. To what I value the Jewish people, I don't have money to be able to pay what I value the Jewish people. No sum of money in the world will pay the value of the Jewish people. So what is it? What is it that Haman was trying to put a value on? Where does he come with this half a shekel? And over here, in fact, the Talmud tells us, where did Haman come up with the number from? He came up with the number from somebody earlier in the Bible. Remember Joseph was sold by his brothers for 20 silver coins? Why 20 silver coins? And the Talmud explains that the amount that each brother earned from selling Joseph was a half a shekel. Haman said, if that's how much they earned, that's how much they're worth, that's what we're going to sell them off for. Now think about this. You have over here the Jewish people are thrown into exile. Haman wants to kill them. What does he use the terminology of a half a shekel? His claim against the Jewish people is that they're a segregated bunch, they're independent, they don't follow our laws, and therefore there's no need to keep them. But he uses the half a shekel to be able to prove his point and to pay it across, referencing back to the story of Joseph. What is this teaching us? There's an unbelievable lesson. There's an unbelievable teaching that Haman, the story of Joseph, the half a shekel all bring together. And this is the foundation, one of the fundamentals of the Jewish people. You know, many people don't get along. God tells us, the Talmud says, just like our faces don't look alike, our minds don't think alike. 2 Jews, 3 opinions. They used to say there were these cannibals met a Jew on a plane, and he said, listen here, we got to eat the Jews quick, because if you leave them too long, they're going to eat each other alive. Jews don't always agree. For right, for wrong, for good or for bad, whatever it may be. And what is it that sometimes tells us why I don't get along? We tell ourselves, you know what? I can live without the other guy. I don't need him in my life. I don't need his misery. I don't need his negativity. Leave me alone. Have a nice day. In fact, that's what Joseph and his brothers said. The brothers said about Joseph, listen here. This guy makes our life miserable with his dreams. He wants to be our king. Let's get rid of him. Well, we have 12 brothers, 1 missing. Not so bad. We'll survive. We'll do it away with him. As the words they say, let's throw him into one of the holes over here, one of the ditches, and then let's see what his dreams tell us. We'll take care of ourselves. But surprisingly, facts on the ground, all of a sudden the situation changed. When the brothers were in dire need of bread, when starvation and hunger came in the land of Israel, who was the one that saved the brothers? Who was the one that saved the Jewish people single-handedly? Joseph. That brother that was despised, that brother that they thought they can do without, was the one that comes to the rescue. Isn't it fascinating that almost in all times when there's a rivalry, and there's a sibling rivalry especially, the one that everybody gangs up against is the one eventually who saves the day? We never know where the miracle comes from. We don't know who has the full potential and who does not. But over here, the Torah is telling us each one of these brothers earned a half a shekel. Haman said the Jews are only a half a shekel. Because what the Torah is telling the brothers and telling every single one of us, every single one of us is only a half. You are worth nothing without the other half. Not only that, that other half may be more worth than you are because he complements you and makes you into a whole. Yes, maybe you don't get along with your sibling. Maybe you got into a fight. But in order to write the guy off and say he's not needed, then you're only a half. You're nothing. You're only a half. And a half, that's the profit the brothers made. They saw nothing in the value. Haman looked at the Jews as a nothing, and therefore he saw that they were only a half a shekel. And therefore the Torah, that you are only a half, and the one that complements you is another Jew. It's like saying the brain says, what do I need a little toe for? What do I need the toes? Until it stumps its toe and says, wow, that hurts. That toe's important. What do I need the pinky? Until you're missing it, and then you see how much it's needed. We sometimes don't recognize the value of something until it hurts or it's missing. And what does the Torah tell us? Don't wait for that occasion. Recognize that you're a half a shekel. Recognize that you're only a half. You will be able to mend and repair every relationship by recognizing that the other half complements you and makes you a whole. We read about the story of the half a shekel before Purim. And we give the half a shekel before Purim, reminding us that what brought the Jewish people together, what brought the salvation to the Jewish people, how were they able to be victorious over Haman, was the fact that they came together. The unity, the bringing of the half a shekel together, recognizing that when they were in the desert and they all contributed a half a shekel to the communal sacrifices, they realized that in order to be a community, we have to remember that we are not it, we are dependent on one another. The half a shekel reminds us that no person lives on an island. Every single one of us is dependent on each other, relies on each other, and is therefore needs each other. And without that, we are only a half. My dear friends, it goes even deeper. We are only a half. Almighty God is the other half. And Almighty God tells us the only way I can complement your half is when you join together with another Jew. When you have the humility, when you have the sense of dependency, when you realize that every single one of us needs to be a whole, is only when we recognize we're a half. Then we can overcome any terrible decree. We can get through any challenge, trial, and tribulation in our way. Because when we stand together as one, there's nothing that stands in our way. So if you think about it for a moment, what was the argument you had with your sibling? You probably forgot it already by now. Recognize that without that sibling, without that person in your life, you're only a half. Think about how you can repair a relationship. Think about what you can do to make yourself whole out of humility and dependency. And you will live a happier, more satisfied life. Don't be a half. Become whole. But you need to become whole by recognizing you're only half. Wishing you a good Shabbos, a joyous month of Adar, and the very best for a great week ahead. All the best. Good Shabbos. God bless you and your family for a wonderful week.